What's up, realized man? In today's video, I'm going to show you how to reclaim your mind from propaganda. So, a couple of years ago, I was in Los Angeles, California in a bus for the first time ever in my life. This was 2018. And we're pulling up on LAX, and I saw a big billboard, this big fucking billboard. It said, "Smoke weed." I was like, well, what is this? Like, why are there billboards in LA about smoking weed? I remembered that weed was legal in LA. It's not legal in Australia, but it's legal in LA. I thought this was a bit weird. I thought this was a bit strange because a couple years ago, people that smoked weed were seen as outcasts, were seen as druggies and filth, the dirt of the earth. So I thought that was a little bit strange. The other day I was on YouTube, just watching something, and one of the suggested videos popped up. It said, "Beware the gays." I was like, what the hell is "Beware the gays"? So I clicked on it. It was a 1970s or 1980s commercial warning people to beware of homosexuals, to keep away from them because they're dangerous and they'll molest you or something.
Frank seems like a fine man. What Tim doesn't know is that Frank is a homosexual. A man who is physically attracted to people of the same sex.
This was pretty crazy because as I'm watching this ad on YouTube, everything I see is pro-LGBTQ. Everyone's promoting it. So it's a complete other side of the spectrum. And I realized that something fishy is going on. How can society change its ideologies from one polar side of the spectrum to the other side? From smoking weed's bad to smoking weed's the shit and everybody should smoke it. From keep away from the gays to love the gays, love the trans, love everybody, love the he's a she, she's a he. What is behind these large and drastic changes? So 2020 happened and things were smelling a bit fishy, right? Like this virus, the Wuhan virus came out and things were a bit odd. I was noticing like the promotion for COVID was quite rampant, right? Which seemed reasonable at first because, we didn't know what was going on. The freaking virus coming out of nowhere and it's going to kill us all. But it kept going on for months and months and months. As the stats came in, I was like, this doesn't look so crazy. Well, why are they shoving this in my face every single day? That's when I decided to do a little bit of research on propaganda. Turns out the Godfather is this guy called Edward Bernays. He actually wrote a book called Propaganda. So I read his book and there were some groundbreaking things that I found in them. 3 of them I'm going to share with you about how propaganda works and how you can avoid it as a realized man who's in charge of his destiny. So before I dive into those 3 powerful techniques that these people use, this guy, Edward Bernays, was kind of a psychopath when I think about it. His most popular act of propaganda was motivating millions, possibly hundreds of millions of women in America to start smoking. You see, women never used to smoke in America. It was seen as a taboo, it was seen as a manly thing. And then a few feminists started smoking as kind of like a rebellion. But it was just a small, tiny percentage, maybe even 0.01% of women were smoking. So this guy came up to Edward Bernays and said, "Yo, man, I want you to promote my cigarettes and get people to buy them." So he came up with this big propaganda campaign. And what he did was he got these feminists to go in this march, right? To go in this very public march. I think it was Easter March or something like that. He had photographers placed to take good pictures. And they took the pictures of feminists smoking openly down the street, which was a big scene at the time. So these feminists are smoking, going down the street, everybody's looking, freaking out. And the newspaper headlines came out saying that they were smoking torches of freedom or lighting cigarettes of freedom or something like that. So he associated this idea of the female feminist movement and freedom and freeing yourself from men and liberty with cigarettes. Bada bing, bada boom, it caught like wildfire and women started smoking and the rest is history. It was a great success. So he's behind a bunch of these kind of crazy campaigns like that, like putting fluoride in water and a bunch of other nonsense. So he knows what the hell he's talking about. And another interesting thing about this guy is he was actually the nephew of Sigmund Freud. So he's got a heavy psychology background, right? Because Sigmund Freud is one of the godfathers of psychology and the unconscious. He had these weird theories, but we'll forget about that for a moment, about the mother and the son and all those weird theories. We'll forget about that. So what are the 3 techniques of propaganda and how are they being used against you right now? Technique number 1, symbolism. Symbolism. Contrary to common belief, our minds are not very logical. They're emotional. 5%, probably even less than that, 3% of our minds are conscious. The other 95, 97% are subconscious. We're creatures of habits. And the subconscious mind works from symbols, emotions, pictures, that type of thing. So when someone calls you fat, it's not the words itself that sting. A lot of times if you had childhood trauma or a bullying experience when you were younger, that word fat is kind of like a collage of a bunch of different memories and emotions. It's a symbol of something and that causes you to feel bad. So we all have these triggers and these symbols that our brains go to. So when you see someone pull up in a Lamborghini Aventador, the symbol it's not just you seeing someone in a nice car. You're thinking, wow, this person is successful, this person has money, they probably have access to lots of women, like how did they get there, they're better than me. That these type of associations automatically come in your brain, and that's the power of symbols. And this is used like crazy. It's rampant in marketing. Like take for example this thing here. If I was trying to sell you these Beats headphones, I'm not gonna say, yo, these Beats, they got nice cushions, they got this bridge thing here, the red, you can change the volume here. That's not what's gonna happen. I wouldn't do that. If I was trying to sell you these Beats, I'll place them in music videos. I'll make sure LeBron James is wearing them. I'll make 50 Cent wear them. I'll make the hottest R&B artists wear them. I'll make the athletes that are doing well for the time wear them, right? That's exactly what they did. That's how Beats blew up. They associated Beats. It was a symbol of coolness, hipness. iPhone, the slickness is a symbol of kind of someone who's more trendy, cool, that type of thing, right? So symbols are important and they're being used all the time. Think about face masks, right? Face masks which are being used everywhere right now. What's that symbol of? Think about it for a moment. What's that symbol of? Well, the association they've created with face masks, the governments, the World Health Organization, whoever is behind this promotion, is that by wearing a face mask, you are saving lives. You're doing your part. This is the new normal. You're doing your part. You're a good person. You're not an asshole. You're not killing grandma. You're not killing grandpa. You are a good person. You should wear that face mask. You're saving lives. Now the masses are going to just accept everything for what it is. Like, the government is telling us to do this. The World Health Organization is telling us to do this. This must be good. Why else do they tell us this? Because 99% of people are sheep. Now I'm not saying that face masks don't work or not. I'm saying the vast majority of people are not going to think for themselves, right? They're just going to take what's given to them and accept the symbol. The symbol is you are behaving. You are a good person. You deserve a pat, little pat. You deserve a pat, and you're a good person. You're not an asshole. I remember over here in Sydney, Australia, we don't really have too many COVID cases, right? And just a couple months ago, 2 months ago, we didn't have to wear any masks. We could just walk through the stores, no worries. And we actually had more COVID cases back then. But our premier was under pressure, and all of a sudden, the face mask is now mandatory, even though we have less cases. We actually had one person in the hospital. I checked this shit out because I actually like to look for myself and see what's happening. We had one person in the hospital from the Wuhan virus. And we started having to wear these masks. And I forgot to wear mine one day. And I was walking to the shops to buy something. And I was getting the dirtiest looks. Like I just killed like a whole bunch of people.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man? Bro, I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping.
And it was interesting to me because then I realized how powerful symbols were. These people weren't looking at this from a objective point of view that 2 weeks ago we didn't have to wear this and nothing bad was happening, it was all good. Now we have to wear it for some reason, probably some political pressure. That was seen as that guy over there is going against the rules. He's a bad boy. This is a type of paradigm that we're taught since we're young. So symbols are very important, and it's one of the strategies that people who use propaganda will use against you. Number two, authority. If you want to influence people, you need to go to the influencers. You need to go to the authority figures, celebrities. Like I mentioned before, Dr. Dre, you need to go to 50 Cent, you need to go to these types of people that have power. Because that authority is going to trickle down the ranks, and before you know it, everybody's going to be following what they say. A few years back, what was considered attractive in females was vastly different to what's happening now. Right now, pretty much every girl who's got the big fake fucking duck lips, right? They got the big fat duck lips. They got the fake tits. They got the BBL, right? They have the injections. They got the filler. They got all that stuff, right? This wasn't as prevalent, let's say 15 years ago. This new image, this look that you're seeing everywhere became rampant because of the Kardashians, because of Kylie Jenner, because of this, because of other influencers. When young girls see these influencers on Instagram, millions of followers, looking a particular type of way, they are motivated to look that way too. Remember, people are impressionable. 99% of people are sheep. So they're going to do everything they can to look like that. So if you want to motivate the masses, you don't convince them. You don't tell them to do something. You just make sure the elites are doing it. You just make sure the people that are in the spotlight are doing it. Going back to this whole COVID thing, every single company, right, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram has been bombarding you with these messages. Do your part, social distance, new normal, all this shit. They've been bombarding you with this fact checking, showing you the right resources to look up, covering your post if you mention anything to do with COVID. This video is probably gonna get like 200 views and probably 1 million dislikes, but that's okay. And they've been doing this because they're the authority. They want you to kind of put your thinking hat to the side and say, hey, don't worry. You don't have to think. You don't have to look at the papers yourself. You don't have to look at stats yourself. Just let us take care of it for you, because we're smarter than you, because you're a sheep and you should follow us. That's the power of the authority figure. The third most powerful thing that people who use propaganda do is they're everywhere. Everywhere on rerun. And the reason they do this is because the more times they can show their agendas, they can show their marketing, the easier it is for it to occupy a space in your head. You ever notice that when you're watching TV, you might see an advert that's 60 seconds long or a minute long, and you see maybe for a couple of weeks all the time, you see it 60 seconds long. Then eventually, all of a sudden, they have a shortened version of the ad that's like maybe 20 seconds. It just kind of gets the highlights, the tidbits of the ad. Advertisers do this on purpose because they know that after a couple of weeks of running the ad, it's already in your mind, right? It occupies a space in your brain, and they can trigger that space just by showing you a little bit of that ad. It goes back and it stays relevant, and their messaging and their strings can still be pulled. It's the same thing with this whole COVID situation. Same thing with the gender pronoun situation. Everywhere you look, you're being reminded about it. You go on the news, you're being reminded about it. You go on Facebook, you're being reminded about it. You go on Instagram, you see links everywhere. You see the word everywhere. You go down the street, nothing's going on. But you see posters everywhere. It's insane. It's everywhere, because the more times they can repeat repetition over and over and over and over again, the more times they can occupy your mind. And what ends up happening is you no longer trust what you're seeing with your eyes or what you're hearing with your ears. Your brain is living in some fantasy land that's constructed by mass media, constructed by tech giants and whatnot. And that's not a good thing. So how can you, as a realized man, as an independent thinker, as someone who wants to take control of their fucking lives, avoid propaganda? The first thing you need to do is limit your time on social media. I know we have to be on social media, right? Ideally, we don't want to be on that crap, but sometimes we have to be there to connect with friends or for business like me. It just has to happen. But you can limit your time. Go on the desktop, it's less distracting. Give yourself 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes tops to check everything and then forget about it, right? Forget about it normal for the rest of the day. So you need time yourself. Treat yourself like you're a Coke addict. You don't want to be on there for too long or things are gonna get really bad. So limit your exposure to social media. Delete toxic social media like Twitter. You don't need that shit. Keep away from the news. The news is bad. I know it's addictive. I never used to watch the news, and I've been finding myself getting drawn in lately, just drawn in, trying to watch what's going on. But it's not going to help you, right? The news is a propaganda machine. You don't need that. Trust what you're seeing with your eyes. Trust what you're hearing with your ears. Get rid of the news. The second thing you can do is learn about heuristics and cognitive biases. Learn about how your mind works. These masters of propaganda, the string pullers, they know things such as the halo effect. They know the Texas sharpshooter fallacy. They know social proof. They know all these things. And if any of those sounded like alien talk, then you need to do your work and research cognitive biases and heuristics. A cognitive bias is basically a mental shortcut that your brain takes to conserve energy. So for example, if you're crossing the road, like let's say you have the stoplight, and you're pressing the button, right? And then everybody starts walking across before it turns green or says that you can cross. You will feel an urge to cross as well because of the social proof bias, the bias that makes us trust the herd. You'll feel an urge, but if those people weren't there, you probably wouldn't feel that urge. So it's important for you to master these cognitive biases so you don't fall victim to mental errors or lazy thinking. You also need to understand first principles thinking or reasoning from first principles. Stop accepting what everybody is telling you. Do your own research. Learn a bit of statistics. Read these papers. Look at the data yourself. Remove the false assumptions and build up from the bottom assumptions. Talking about this whole COVID thing, which is very interesting to me, ask yourself, so why on earth is this being pushed more than any other thing that's ever basically happened, right? Why is this become the biggest health concern when people have been dying for years from alcohol, from smoking, from eating bullshit, things that kill millions of people? The biggest killer in the world right now is heart-related issues, and that's a huge, directly related to eating bullshit, not exercising. Why have we not had these big campaigns telling people, get underneath the fucking squat rack, do some bench press, stop eating bullshit, why you eat McDonald's? Why is McDonald's even legal? You gotta ask yourself for this. Well, there's something going on, and it's propaganda. And hopefully this video has helped you identify more people that want to troll. You can troll. I don't give a fuck. I will see you, Realized Man, very soon. Do this, and I promise you'll be one step closer to living and dying well.